I'm Brenda with My Pastor's Wife Designs. I want to show you how to make this great card today. Yep, I love this card. I love this stamp set. The Beautiful You stamp set's got to be an all-time favorite. But I got a little twist. We're not going to make just one. We're going to make two cards using the Designer Series paper. Same pieces, but you're going to see some fun tricks with how to make two cards with basically the same amount of time, maybe 2 minutes more, and that way you'll have two cards ready to send out to friends, and you'll get to see just how great our Designer Series paper works. So with that, join me to make these cards. All right, let's get started on this great fun card. I love this card because it's quick and easy to go together, and today I'm going to show you how to get two cards made quickly with the same Designer Series paper. So with that being said, the first things that you are going to need is your stamp set. We're using the Beautiful You stamp set, and we will be using the image of the gal with the umbrella, and then the sentiment that says live, laugh, love. Those are the two stamps you will need. Oh no, one more stamp. We're going to be using this one for some water. The colors of ink that you will need will be the balmy blue ink, and then a black of your choice. I choose Memento Tuxedo Black. You can also use StazOn Black, but I recommend one that's not going to bleed if you color around it. We will be using a couple of Stampin' Blends. I will probably be using the ivory one and probably the dark petal pink. Paper. We need some cardstock. Remember I said we're going to make two cards. I like the Whisper White thick cardstock. It just holds up a little better when it's your card base. And you will need two pieces of that, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then you need two other pieces of Whisper White. These are 2.5 inches by 3 inches. And then you need mint macaron. These pieces are 3 inches by 4 inches. We're just going to be cutting those with a die. You don't need to stamp on those. Then we need a couple of pieces of our Designer Series paper. This is the width of the pattern on the Designer Series paper, and then its length is 5.5. And then you will need two pieces, and they're just scrap pieces. They're about 2 inches by maybe 1 3/4 inches, and this is the print I've chosen. It goes with our mint macaron, and then you'll see what we're going to do to make two cards, but they're going to be different, which is really fun. And then you just need one more piece, and you can choose one that kind of mixes and matches with what we're doing, and that's about 2 inches. Again, 2 inches by 1 3/4, and that's going to be for some stamping. So with that being said, I'm going to move this card out of my way, our sample, and we're going to get started with our stamping. And of course, we do not want to forget that we need envelopes for our cards. We always need envelopes, and I just think that it's so nice to be able to decorate the envelope with the card. It just looks nicer, and I don't know, I just think it makes it handmade and makes it even more special. So let's go ahead and get out our Memento, our black ink, and I've already got my stamp mounted on my block. I'm just going to give that a really good ink so it comes out nicely, and I'm going to stamp the corners of my envelope. I like to stay in the bottom left side of the envelope because of addressing and all of that. You don't want to make your postmaster mad, and I don't know, maybe you have a great postmaster and they don't get upset with you. All right, our envelopes are stamped. So then the next thing, I'm going to set this down for just a moment. I'm going to get my card bases, and I always like to fold it with what we call the mountain side in, the valley side out. You get a nice fold. I'm going to fold it, use my bone folder to just give it a nice crease. I'll go back over it later so that it lays really flat. All right, and then I want to stamp the inside of that. Again, I think that it makes the card look more finished. I don't really want it just all blank inside. And because I'm not going to put a sentiment inside of this particular card, I want something. So I'm just going to stamp her this time on this edge like she's walking away. And that's all I'm going to do there. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing on the inside of this card. There we go. And I'm going to set that aside as well. And then I'm going to bring in my 2 pieces of Whisper White. These are going to be cut later with an oval die. And again, ink that up really well. I'm going to give that a stamp just about. I kind of want to center that. Give it a nice press. Get a nice impression. Set that aside for just a moment. We're going to come back to that. And we're going to get our 2 pieces of our designer series paper, and I'm going to look at each side and see which one I like a little bit better, and I am going to stamp. Mostly is what I'm going for is the dress. Kind of think of it like, I don't know, paper dolls maybe, right? I'm going to turn that around because I want to stamp the dress. And try to pick up the pattern I especially like. I'm going to give that a good press and let it just sit for a minute, because this happens to be the shiny side, the embossed side of the paper. It's going to take it a little bit longer to dry, and I want it to get a good impression. And you can see where the dress is on there. That's going to sit there for a moment and dry. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this mint macaron print. Give it a nice press. Let it kind of come over here and dry. Then I'm going to get this piece and I'm going to stamp twice, and I want to get 2 umbrellas. So I'm just going to ink up the top here, just the top part of the umbrella, because that's all I'm going to want. And I want to stamp 1 umbrella right here. Again, this is the shiny side, so it is going to need just a little bit more drying time. And then I'm going to just stamp another one right here. And I don't think it's as important to have your umbrella match your outfit, because unless we're really wealthy and we have a lot of umbrellas, they're not going to match. I'm going to set that aside because we are finished with that. And then while some of this is drying, I want to bring in my water stamp and the balmy blue. Let's go ahead and close this up so we don't dry my ink out. And I want to just put a little tiny bit of water under her, or in her path. I guess that's the best way to say that. I'm going to ink this up. I like to go around the sides a little bit and kind of use extra ink. I'm going to stamp it off because I don't want it super dark. And I'm going to kind of come in by her feet, not on top of her feet, but by them, and just have a little bit of water. You see where it's coming off of there. The second one, stamp that off, line that up. Now we're done with that stamp, and then I want to set that aside, and I want to bring my black ink back in and my sentiment. What I like to do with my sentiment is line it up on my block so that it's lined up with the grid. So I'm going to line this up so my block is on the grid and straight. Then I'm going to take my stamp and line the words up, and my head's probably going to get in the picture here for a minute, but I want to line my words up on another line so they're straight, so that I'm going to have a nice straight impression. I'm going to set this out of my way for a moment, and I want to bring my card faces back in, and this time, so this is my inside, I'm going to flip this to the outside here, and I will line my card base up on a grid so that it is straight. And then I want to I'll ink my stamp up really well, and then I will line the bottom edge. So again, my head's probably going to get in here. the bottom edge of my block with my bottom edge of my card. And I'm pretty sure if I did it right, everything will line up straightly. Yes, yay, straightly. That is my new word of the day, straightly. I'm going to add that to my dictionary of words I make up. You also could do this with your Stamparatus, which I could have gotten out, but I wanted to show you this little trick because it actually works really well. Again, straightly. All right, so that is our stamping. I'm going to set that aside. I'll clean that later with my handy dandy chamois. And we will go ahead and move on to our coloring and cutting. So I'm still letting this dry just a little bit longer, and I am going to use a couple of different Stampin' inks actually, or Stampin' blends. I've decided, because we are not all the same flesh tone, that I want to bring in a couple of colors and make these a little more fun. So I will be using the ivory, I believe this is the ivory. Yeah, the ivory Stampin' Blends marker for one of them. And I will just, there's not much coloring here. I'm going to color in on her neck and her legs. And I'm going to assume she has on a sandal and just kind of leave it at that. So I'm going to do that with the ivory on that one, and then on this one I'm going to use the dark crumb cake. And I'm going to come in with the dark crumb cake, again just on the neck, and down the legs, again assuming she has on just a pair of sandals out walking in the rain or after the rain. And then I want to just come in with a few little highlights or lowlights, and I'm going to use the dark petal pink on my lighter skinned gal, and just kind of add a couple of, like I said, lowlights or shadows, kind of maybe behind her leg. And I know that's hard to see on the video unless you're like super zoomed in. And then I think I will use the bronze on this one. Again, just going to tuck up under her hair, a little bit of shadow on this back leg under the, there we go. And there we have two different skin toned people. And I'm going to just set that aside for a moment, and I'm going to grab my small scissors and just do a little bit of cutting, some fussy cutting, cutting out the umbrellas. And I cut the top off, and I can draw that point back in. It's much easier than trying to cut around a point. Just use a black marker and cut that back in. I cut that, and then, all right, there's one umbrella. Like I said, there's no reason not to make two cards at the same time. You're going to get two different looks, and you'll have two cards, which is awesome. Feel like you got your time's worth when you're producing more than one, and when you don't want them to be exactly alike, but they can still be similar. And face it, you're not sending the same card to the same person anyway. So I'm going to come in and just cut the dresses. I go around, and I tend to move my paper more than my scissors because you'll get a much cleaner cut than stopping and starting with your scissors. You want to hold the edge of this one if it's not dry yet, because of the embossing. You don't want it to smear. And you may have to go back in with a black marker and add your lines a little bit back in, just if they have smeared or didn't set as strongly as you would like them to. All right, there's our dresses. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is grab our silicone mat to do a little bit of adhesive work and not get it all over everything, which I tend to do. I'm just going to use snail. I'm going to turn all my dresses and my umbrella tops over, and I'm just going to run snail on the back of each of them. And then really we're going to just dress our girls like we would some paper dolls. I'm going to just And I will just line everything up. You've already got the outline, so it's easy peasy, really. I'm going to do the same thing on this one, and I love how we've got two totally different outfits, and all I did was change the, I just flipped it over. And that is the beauty of the designer series paper. And then I'm going to see which umbrella top I like the best with which outfit. I think I'm going to go with this one for her. And you can see where we didn't have to worry about the top of that umbrella because it's already stamped onto our piece right here. I am going to come back in with a black marker, and I want to just put some swish marks like she's walking. I love giving it a little bit of movement. And then on this one I just do want to come back in and draw these lines in a little bit stronger, the ones that kind of just either didn't take or smeared when I was cutting, which is going to happen on that embossed, the raised embossing. So you can see there we've got two totally different looks. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Blends, and this is the light basic black, and I'm going to just do that on her hair. You could use the dark basic black too to just fill in a couple highlights if you'd like. And then for this one, I think I'm going to do the Dark Daffodil Delight. You can use each end, and it's funny because sometimes with each end you're going to get a little color variation as well, which is kind of fun. And then I'm going to come back in with the bronze, I believe. Yep, the bronze, and just throw some shadows in there. All right, those are done. I'm going to go over to my die cutting machine. I'm going to cut these out and these out, and what I like to do is I like to find the oval that is going to fit it the best. That one. So I will get these cut and I shall return. And I'm back. It's funny how fast that seems like it went with the magic of editing. So now I have my ladies with my backgrounds, and I'm going to go ahead and just mount them onto my ovals. Go ahead and get your snail on there, or your favorite adhesive. I like the snail because it's quick, it's easy, and it holds well. Just want to get that centered. There we go. And her. And then we'll finish assembling our card. Have you ever had one of those days where you just try and you try and you try and it goes wrong? So I'm going to finish this video in a really weird way because I've already shot this video 3 times. Either dogs have barked, my camera got too hot and died, my camera ran out of juice, and this video I was so close to finishing, and so I'm just going to walk you through the final steps of that card because I was telling you how we're going to finish the card. So what I did is I took those strips of designer series paper and I put just some snail on it, and I ran the snail. You see I flipped it, so I used the one side up on this card and the one side up on this card. The same designer series paper, just used the opposite sides. Then I went ahead and used Stampin' Dimensionals on my ovals with the gals. I did 3 right down the center, and then I just mounted them lined up on my card, as you can see. And then for some added fun, if you want to, just, step it up. Let me reach these. I'm going to get right in your face. You can add just some sequins. These ones are the ones that I had done in the last video that ended badly. And you can see I just added a few sequins, and now I have a lot of cards. So, hey, if you'll place an order with me and order the Beautiful You stamp set, I'm going to send you one of these cards that I made because I have a bunch of them. I'll send you the card and the envelope. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for putting up with this really weird video. I am Brenda with My Pastor's Wife Designs, and I hope you had a great day.